So here is a bit of an odd situation, one that we haven't really had in the men's game, at least not in a public sense, but it is creeping into the women's game, and it's a little difficult to decide what the best course of action is here. All 12 Women's League clubs sat down for their press conference on Thursday, Friday, and it was not about football. Following the news last week that Willie Kirk was under investigation by Leicester City over an alleged relationship with one of his players, organisations he's pressed his managerial counterparts for their views on whether relationships between players and coaches can ever be acceptable. The allegation against Kirk, Leicester say, is he is assisting them with an internal process, comes only a few weeks after it emerged that the former Sheffield United manager, Jonathan Morgan, had a secret 3-year relationship with a teenage player while he was Leicester manager. Morgan has accepted he crossed the line of what was acceptable, but says he has been the victim of a witch hunt. Among the points raised by managers this week was the game's transition from amateurism to professionalism, the power imbalance between a manager or staff member and a player, clubs' codes of conduct, and lack of anonymous reporting mechanisms. Chelsea manager Emma Hayes brought up the challenges, and she said the women's game is shifting from amateur game to professional game. It's almost all areas of our game we need to make sure that it's minimum standard in place. We have to have safeguarding to make sure that it's acceptable for each and every club to protect its players. The challenges coming from an amateur game to a pro game means women's sport has largely been social. Aston Villa manager Carla Ward has a different slant on this slightly. She said it's our job and duty is to protect players, so to cross that line is unacceptable and it can't happen. It makes me very angry because we're here to set an environment, a comfortable place for those people to come to work where they feel safe. I just don't understand anyone who crosses that line. One person said, "Oh, nights out, but you shouldn't be on a night out with the players. I don't know how it happens. It shouldn't happen. The only way to clean up the game is to highlight it and get rid of it," which is absolutely right. What is the solution to this? I mean, okay, you can have, you can have the safeguards in place, you can have rules in place, codes of conduct in place, but for a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but for those people who want to get involved in a relationship with somebody else at the club, on the pitch, player, whatever it might be, sometimes emotions get the better of them, or something happens and it goes, they don't think about the code of conduct, they don't think about the rules necessarily. So what needs to happen here? Do we need to have and I'm only just putting this out there. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this. Do we need to get men out of the women's game? I mean, there are very few women in the men's game, so do we have to have it so that there's very few men in the women's game? That would alleviate a lot of these problems. Because a lot of these things are addressed at men. So if you get male managers out of the game, for example, and things like that, would that remove the potential problems that would arise? Ward said, player-coach relationships probably happen all the time at grassroots level. Can you stop that from a social aspect? No. As for the Women's Championship, where some clubs are professional but others are not, she said, there was a grey area, but concluded the top 2 leagues in English football, if you're going to take women's football seriously, it can't happen. And I think that's true. I don't think it should happen at any level. You shouldn't be having these kind of relationships at any level. Some people have said there shouldn't even be relationships between players at clubs, but I'd love to hear what your thoughts are about that. But maybe this is a case for, keeping keeping men out of the women's game, for example. I mean, would that be fair? Would that be something that you think should happen? Do you think that it should be a case of such stringent things happening, such stringent codes of conduct? But would that affect the relationship between the players and the manager, or the players and the backroom staff, in a professional way? Let me know what your thoughts are on this, because it'd be interesting to see what people make of this situation and how they think it could be resolved. If you think you have an answer, let me know down in the comments.